in his pajamas in front of his wife, 2 daughters, and the whole neighborhood. He was dragged off to jail and subsequently lost the chairmanship of his physics department at Temple University. But in both cases, the federal government, which had accused them of being Chinese spies, then later dropped their charges without any explanation. However, this racial profiling truly escalated under the Trump administration. In an attempt to take the focus off of Russia, President Trump launched the Horrific China Initiative program, which scaled up racial profiling against people like Sherry Chen and Dr. Xi by setting out to prosecute and convict almost exclusively Chinese American scientists for economic espionage. Dr. An-Ming Hu, a professor at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, was surveyed for 21 months with the FBI tailing him and his eldest son to work. And they even tailed him to the grocery store. Dr. Hu was ultimately accused of hiding ties to China through his research and was fired from his job, only to have an FBI agent admit in his testimony that he fabricated information about Dr. Hu during his investigations. Ultimately, a federal judge acquitted Dr. Hu of all charges. But for Dr. Hu, for Sherry Chen, for Dr. Xi, and others like MIT professor Gong Chen, the damage was already done. They all endured significant damage to their reputations, their careers, and their physical and emotional health. And that's why we in CAPAC immediately mobilized around these cases. While we definitely don't want American secrets to be stolen, we also know that we cannot be scapegoats for the FBI. We held press conferences to demand justice for Dr. Xiaoshan Xi and Sherry Chen. Congressmember Ted Lieu early on led our CAPAC members in letters to the Department of Commerce and the Department of Justice to have our questions answered. Congressmember Jamie Raskin then worked with us to hold a joint oversight roundtable on the racial profiling of Chinese scientists and engineers, at which time it was pointed out that the lack of consistency is what is required in scientific grant applications, and that lack of consistency laid the basis for the FBI arrest, who accused these scientists of deliberately omitting certain information. That led us to weigh in with the Office of Science and Technology Policy to revamp the grant process so there was that consistency, which they did do, acknowledging our concerns. We met with FBI Director Christopher Wray about our concerns. We met with Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo expressing our outrage about a secret rogue unit within the department that was going after Asian American employees like Sherry Chen. We met with U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland and Assistant Attorney General Matt Olson about the injustice of the China Initiative. And we did it all with the constant support and partnership of advocates, academics, organizations like C100, and many others who are here with us tonight. And so, we had victories. Through our efforts, Secretary Raimondo and the Department of Commerce terminated that secret rogue unit. Through our efforts, last November, Sherry Chen finally won a historic, long overdue settlement of $1.8 million over wrongful prosecution and termination. Through our efforts, Dr. Xi and Dr. Hu are back teaching at their universities. And through our efforts last year, Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Justice Department finally ended the China Initiative. But our job is far from done. Today, the rhetoric and tension about the U.S.-China relationship is on the rise, resulting in even broader racial profiling and extremist targeting. This comes on top of 3 years of anti-Asian hate due to Trump calling COVID-19 the China virus and Kung Flu, resulting in 11,500 anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents. Today, there are a proliferation of alien land laws that harken back to the racist anti-Asian laws of the 1850s, targeting the Chinese. We fought these laws in Congress, but they are proliferating in states like Texas and Florida, where they would prohibit any Chinese national from owning land, even a senior citizen who has a green card, but whose citizenship is from China. Today, there is the targeting of numerous successful Chinese American businessmen like Walter Wang and Dominic Ng as spies for China. When I spoke out to defend him, I was then accused by a right-wing extremist Republican congressman from Texas of being a spy for China. Now, when I was accused, I was outraged. I was disgusted. But most of all, I was angry, because that accusation was based on centuries-long stereotypes that Asian Americans are perpetual foreigners in our own country. No matter how long we've been here, no matter how much we've contributed to this country, or if they are someone like me, born in this country. My father fought for the U.S. in World War II. I served for 37 years in elected office in this country. How much more American do I have to be considered American? But I have to say that I had another reaction, and that was of tremendous gratitude. I was grateful because immediately there was an outpouring of support by national leaders and organizations, including the Committee of 100, who condemned that Congress member's statements and demanded an apology. I was also grateful because I could see so concretely just how far the Asian Pacific Islander community had come in being able to raise our voices. And I thought back at a time when AAPIs were invisible on Capitol Hill, so that when the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the Japanese American internment happened, there was nobody to speak up for us. Today, it is different. Today, we have an historic high of AAPI leaders elected at the federal, state, and local levels who have a seat at the table where the decisions are being made. And because we have that seat, we can intervene in ways both visible and not so visible. Something not so visible was when Congressmember Mark Takano and I were appointed to the conference committee of the CHIPS and Science Act. Because we were there, we were able to get 4 amendments removed that would have harmed Asian Americans, including one that would have created a mini China initiative in every federal department. Now, let me make it clear. We want the boost that the CHIPS and Science Act will give to American technology and innovation, but it should not come at the expense of Asian American civil rights.
Yeah.
late at 1982, when economic tensions between the US and Japan reached the boiling point, Vincent Chin, a young Chinese American, was about to celebrate his wedding at a bar in Detroit when he was hunted down by two disgruntled white auto workers who chased him, murdered him, and bashed him in his head with a baseball bat. The two killers never spent even one day in jail and were only given a $3,000 fine. Instead of gathering to celebrate his wedding, Vincent's family gathered to bury him at his funeral. Looking back, after 9/11, the xenophobic backlash against Muslim, Sikh, Arab, Middle Eastern, and South Asians resulted in scapegoating and the government surveillance of mosques and communities deemed suspicious. Looking back, at World War II, 120,000 Japanese Americans lost everything that they had due to being the scapegoat of a hysteria that said that there were spies amongst them. To this day, not a single case of espionage by Japanese Americans was ever proven. But now, we must look forward. And as we look forward, we know we cannot let history repeat itself. We must strengthen our voices. We must help more APIs get that seat at the table, including Julie Su, who will have a vote as soon as next week to become our first API Secretary of Labor. We must push out a thoughtful analysis of what to do about the US-China relationship. We must reach out to allies who can understand the commonalities of our struggle so that we can stand together. And together, we must lock arms and unequivocally say, end the xenophobic rhetoric that puts lives in danger. And recognize the contributions that every American has made to making this country stronger. So thank you again, Committee of 100. Thank you for your tireless work on behalf of Chinese Americans, and let's continue our incredible partnership together. Thank you all so much.